I'm sorry to cut you there, but I want to understand what were the things you found out from Lagos that stood out so good, so much that they had to be given the blue in comparison with other states where you have, in fact, amber is the largest.
Is the largest.
Okay, let's start with comparing the blue and the green, because I noticed that for the green, we have Delta, Akwa Ibom, Edo, Ekiti, and Ogun. Those were the states that came close to Lagos. So in comparison, what did you find out?
So again, don't forget that it's based on each. So for the overall index ranking, for instance, you have to, so there's a back-end dashboard. It's an Excel dashboard with a lot of computations that for each of these indexes that I read out, a state can either be blue, those 4 colors. Now for each of it, you score 1, 0.7, 0.5, or 0. So we did the overall calculation, and then you can come up. Now, if by the time we do the overall calculation and the average of it, let me not go into the whole mathematical formula, and you score 4, you are a blue.
Okay.
And then when you now score greater than 3, but less than 4, greater than or equals to 3, but less than 4,
you are a green.
And then when you score greater than or equals to 2, but less than 3, you are a green. And then when you score less than 2, you are a red.
Red.
Why did Lagos stand out? First, Lagos has been the model state. I will tell you one major thing Lagos did well. The fact that they have the Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency. Is a separate agency that deals with sexual violence. Amazing. That upped them, because that agency is
dedicated.
Thank you. So, and is led by Titilola Adeniyi, who in the course of when we did the launch, she was brought in, she was invited, she was on the panel, and she shared a lot of things that Lagos is doing well. And let me quickly say at this point, what we are now doing moving forward is to do what we call the Womanity Index peer learning series, to bring blue and green states together with amber and red states on each index, for the blue and green to share what they're doing well, so that they can hold and support the amber and red states.
That makes sense.
So Lagos, for instance, is where we're hosting the festival.
Okay.
Lagos laws and policies. Lagos law on domestic and sexual violence predates the VAP law of 2015.
I see.
Lagos had come up with their laws long ago. In fact, people so fear the DSVA in Lagos. If you're a husband and you beat your wife and they take your matter to DSVA, they first of all remove certain privileges from you. And then when you are reported and you are found wanting, you have to be paying a certain amount to the woman. Like, it's not DSVA that decide on it. DSVA partners with the police and the Ministry of Justice to bring about justice, expedited justice. Not the one that is elongated. It started in 2020.
It's ending in 2024. It's still
on. Do you get? So because Lagos has that dedicated system. Another thing on that support service, Lagos has over 80 sexual assault referral centers. What did they do?
Over 80?
Yes. What did they do? They used all the primary healthcare centers and transformed them to be SAC responsive, or SAC responsive. What does that mean? So instead of having to go and look for a building for a SAC and then establish it, they just use the existing structure and set up the SACs within those primary healthcare centers. Lagos has a strong relationship. The DSVA has a strong relationship with the police system, so that when DSVA brings a matter, it's expedited, because they know that this is because when a woman is abused and thrown out of the house, so first the woman is thrown out of the house, not the man that is abusive, as much as I'm using women,
it works both ways.
Are also being, she is deprived. She's looking for where to stay, what to eat, money to spend, and all of those things. So Lagos takes it very seriously. Lagos didn't do well in all of the indexes. Budget and spending, Lagos did not do well. I think Lagos is like an amber or a red state, even for our budget and spending.
Okay.
However, we realize that because of the population of Lagos State and the budget that is being allocated, so they are also trying to see what can we do well to up that. So when you look at each of those things that Lagos is doing, DSVA helps them with the access to legal justice. All of the bureaucratic system, you just go there and then you report to them. They take up all of that. They take up even support services. Information and awareness is handled mainly by DSVA. you need to see the number of activities that they are doing. They will go to market women, they will go to traditional leaders, they will go to schools, and they are not limited to urban areas. They will go to semi-urban, rural areas and take the message everywhere. And they are not doing it digitally alone. They are going on the field. Because a lot of time when you do your multimedia video, your explainer video, how about those who don't have access to the internet?
That's right.
So those are some of the few things that Lagos is doing. And we believe that when we do the peer learning series, Lagos can actually support some of the red state on some of the indexes.
All right. Now, the voice of Executive Director Invictus Africa, Bukky Shonibare, and we've been looking at the indicators and all the findings they got from the Womanity Index 2023, and they focused on GBV. Now, are there notable differences, just like you mentioned now? Let's talk about the red states, because, you know, the green and the amber, some people will say, okay, they are trying.
They are managing.
They are managing. What about the total red?
Yeah.
Is it that they failed with surrounding all the indicators? Did they fail 100%?
No, I won't say they failed 100%. So
Okay.
in one index, so let's say for instance in the overall index, you find Akwa Ibom as a green state. But when you now go to for instance, like access to legal justice, Akwa Ibom is an amber state.
An amber state.
When
okay.
you go to budget and spending, Akwa Ibom is actually a green state, just using that as an example.
Okay.
So it doesn't mean they fail, but by the time we compute it and we do the cumulative calculation, so long as you score less than 2 cumulatively, you are in a party. So it's not like in everything they are bad.
Okay.
But we're saying that cumulatively, you must be able to score way above. But when you now, so the way we did the color ranking for the overall index,
yes,
we did color ranking for each of the indexes as well. And then you see how state performed in that regard.
All right. So what interventions, can be made by these states? The green, the amber, the red. What interventions can they inject, before the next Womanity Index that, would actually help to make them look like, we're working on it.
Yes.
There's progress before the next one.
Yes. Good question. So let me start with before the next one. So the idea for Womanity Index is we're not releasing it every year on a particular theme.
Okay.
Because so we do every other year. So as we have done GBV in 2023, the next GBV will be 2025.
Okay.
So that we have 1 year after the release of the report to do what we call post-report launch engagement and support.
Okay.
You mentioned at the beginning that it's been done by 3 organizations. Let me quickly clarify that. So Ford Foundation is funding this over the next 3 years. And we're doing it in Nigeria, Ghana, and Senegal. As a matter of fact, our next is, so Ghana's own will be out this year, and Senegal will be out next year. And what we're trying to do is, we want to do sort of like a comparative analysis of these African states to see what we can learn. What are they doing well? For instance, in each of the indexes that Nigeria can learn, or that Ghana can learn from Senegal or something. So for what we did also in the report, now to your question directly, is for each state, in the full report, I'm talking about a report of 218. In the full report, each state has 5 pages dedicated to them. The first page is usually like their basic data or information, and all of the summary data that helps us arrive at whether they are amber or green. And then we now did a summary assessment of the indicators, the key findings under each indicator, and the recommendation under each indicator. What we try to do is to make sure that we don't make it too texty, such that it becomes another report that people are trying to read everything. So we have something, for instance, like a page like this. I don't know if your viewers can see it, but like a page like this, and then we have the ones that we just say, just this. This is a 1-pager. This 1-pager has the serial number, the indicator. So you see that under laws and policies, you have key findings. We just got out 2 key findings. And then under recommendation, we got out just 2. So that it's not cumbersome. You know that for you to move from red to amber, do this,
focus on it.
It will up your number.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that every other thing is perfect, but just focus on these 2 things. Which brings me to our partnership with the Nigerian Governors Forum and the Nigerian Governors Wise Forum. So they're a partner on this. You'll see their logo on the report. They helped us well in assessing all of the states. So when we had issues with the budget data, the Nigerian Governors Forum helped us to contact all of the governors in all of the states, and they dedicated someone in their offices who then provided the data that we needed. So to your question directly is to say, look at your one pager, look at the recommendation. Just imagine a governor picking this, and that's one of the things NGF told us, Nigerian Governors Forum.
Okay.
How can we support the governors? Like they want, NGF said specifically to us that we want all of the states to be blue states.
Okay, that's good. That's good projection.
Yes, that's good projection. But we know that certain states, and I won't mention, we have problems like, for instance, laws and policies. Because Nigeria is a pluralistic legal system, it's not just our main laws that apply. Some states have, for instance, the Sharia law, and some provisions of those Sharia law contradict the provisions of the VAP law. So until they are able to break some of the religious and cultural backings for these laws that don't align with the VAP law, it will be difficult for them to be blue state. So there's a page for recommendation, and once they do that, it takes them up. And every other year when we assess, we'll see how they are doing. It's our goal and hope that every state will be a blue state.
Yes, it's like I said, it's a good projection, but a lot of work needs to be done. And, you know, our governors also need to put in the work.
Yes.
It's not just having, you know, these indicators, having the recommendation. Do you do something about it?
Yes.
Does the House of Assembly go back to say, okay, these were the recommendations. What can we do? Because what we need is support, but you also need to do the work to ensure that this support is active.
And I like what said about the National Assembly. So for state houses of assembly, for instance, just imagine if they pick their VAP law. One thing we did for all of the states is to assess their VAP law. And at this point, I must give credence to NAPTIP. NAPTIP did an analysis of the VAP law, of all of the state VAP laws. In fact, it's the analysis that we use for the Womanity Index, where they picked each of the VAP law and assess where the gaps are. So one major aspect of the VAP law says, for instance, there must be compensation. Some states removed that provision. Some says you must have, you know, sex offenders register. Some remove that particular provision. Some introduce novel. So imagine if a state House of Assembly pick the Womanity Index, look at the part that relates to them, i.e. the laws and policy part, to say, okay, what do we need to adjust in our VAP law for us to be a blue in laws and policies?
That's right.
Yes.
All right. As we